YouTube channel. So today we are going to discuss another question number 43. As you can see here, and this question is talking about when a teacher asks the class to work in groups. Actually, this is your scenario, right? Scenario. Now, keep in mind that you cannot change this scenario. Focusing on this scenario, you have to give the right option, okay? Now, in this scenario, what is the actually problem, right? Because examiner want to check the correct pedagogy approach, right? That when you are conducting a group work or group task, okay, if any student, because we get multiple excuses, questions, and there are the several, the problems or hindrance in the classroom. He wants to check that how in this situation you are going to deal, right? So a gifted and talented student asked the teacher if she could work on her own. Now, scenario is what teacher set the scenario for a group work, but one of the gifted, you can say that the one of the gifted student and talented student, she said, I want to work alone. That means she is against the teachers' planning. So this is the planning, right? Now, when you set a class, because you cannot set the class, the lesson immediately. You have a plan, before entering in the classroom, you have a lesson plan, right? In lesson plan, you have already designed that which activity you are going to do. Now, suddenly, if some students going to ask, so depends on the situation, right? And she's excusing that when she's working in the group, right? That's actually hindering her thinking and achievement. Now, of course, a teacher knows very well, right, about the students, right? If you have a 25 or 30 students in a classroom, you are aware about the type of the learner. And you already identified that these students are gifted and talented, right? So you are very clear about your, the status of the child, right? Now, in this situation, what you are going to do? What will be your best action, right? Now, examiner said, are you going to agree with the student? Now, when you said agree, that means you are going to let her to work alone. Can we do that? That means you're planning. This is a question mark on your planning. Can you do that? No. With a student, exclude her from a group and to give her an individual task. Okay. So that means your activity or classwork will not be anymore for group work, right? What if you are in the observation class then? Then it says to insist. Now, insist actually when we are forcing to the child, right? Now, according to the well-being policy, we cannot insist, right? We cannot force the child, which is very clearly mentioned in the well-being or child protection policy, even in the Vadima law as well as, right? That student supports lower level students in the whole class, right? To insist that the student supports lower level students in the whole class, right? Now, we already identified that student we have gifted and talented, right? So this is again, another problem in this option, right? Now, third one, to explain to the student that they will learn a variety of skill. That means it's kind of the convince, right? Not a force. Beyond the task completion when they work in it. That means we are letting the child to understand that the group work is, there's a reason that why we set, the group work, okay? Collaborative. This is we call the collaborative or cooperative learning, okay? So there will be discussion and more to share the ideas, okay, like this way. Fourth option is to modify group arrangements, right? Now, actually, the problem with the child is she's actually, has a problem to work in a group. So whether you are going to modify group arrangement, the group will remain group, right? So the students placed in a group, right? In a new group, but she has a problem with the group, right? So again, her excuse will remain same, okay? That she gets along with in order to avoid learning distraction. So she has, that the hindrance with the group, and if you are going to again, modify the group, the question will remain same. Okay. So what you are going to do in this situation, you are going to explain a child that there's a reason to work in the group, and you are going to learn different things by sharing with your class fellows and gifted and talented, there will be applied a differentiated scope that she can support to the lower thinkers. So this is actually the right way that when you are answering a question. So we'll see you in the next okay question. Wait for it, please. Now, if you look at this question is about the feedback. This is our keyword. Uh, After teaching the steps of conducting a research, the science teacher asked the students to do their own research, right? This is a scenario. She then read their work. That means she is reading what she's reading, research what they have done it, right? Which of the following statement is the best feedback? That means after reading, she is going to provide what? Feedback. Now, one of the things you remember that we are very familiar this word that we call constructive feedback, right? Now, this constructive feedback is already mentioned in the teacher standards. That how to provide, there's a criteria that we have to provide, Now, if we look at, that the criteria, let me define the first criteria. We have to always start. I'm sure one of the common thing we always, receive in the training that provide start with a positive note, right? But if an examiner is going to provide, according to the definition, a positive note, then what to improve and how to improve, right? This will be very straightforward. That means this is a very simple question. So definitely examiner has to make a little bit, high complexity level of the question. According to that, if you look at the first option, this is not a positive note, right? Your research is weak. It's directly impacting on students' well-being, right? Social and emotional well-being, right? Regarding a good try, good is word we use for praise, good, excellent, and all these things, right? It's not a constructive feedback. And the third one is called the please. Please means request, right? We cannot request the students. However, now look at the option D. Your research will be better, right? That means something needs to improve. Now, what to improve? If you provide the conclusion more evidences, right? So this is very clear what to improve. There are some things to improve and what to improve, right? And how to improve feedback, right? So examiner removed one thing, positive note right here to increase the level of, a little bit more difficult, question. So we'll move to the next question. So let's discuss this question. These questions. You can see here there's a similarity, or there are similarities between these two questions. So let's start question number 34. And I'm going to compare with question number 11. So one of the most important thing before selecting the right answer or choosing any option, you need to understand, this graph or these graphs. Let's see. Now, sometimes we only read the question, we just look at the graph, and most of our time we spend on the options, right? And we always try to match these options with this graph, right? Like this, a reverse approach we are applying. Same like that, okay? In this, you look at the option and then you try to match like this way, right? Actually, this is the wrong approach. First, you have to read this graph carefully, okay? Both graphs, carefully, and then you have to match the correct option. This is the right way, okay? Because your question, this is your whole question, right? This is the one. But another common mistake teachers do, they only read the descriptive part. So this is a wrong one. Now, let's see how we have to answer these questions, and what are the similarities here. The question says the chart below shows the relationship between student self-esteem and achievement, right? Even without reading, we can answer. No need to read this. But here, maybe you think that why we should not read, right? Now, this is what we call y-axis. This is x-axis. Same here, right? Now, what we can observe, we are observing, or we can see that there's a curve, right? So one thing we can observe, right? Something started from a 0 point, right? So this we can say this is the lowest point, right? And then which is ending over here, right? So with this we can say that, we cannot say here this is the highest point or higher point, okay? But when we are comparing from the lowest point to this point, then you can take as a higher point right here. But this will be the over here again. But actually in the graph, is it going to be higher point or not? Okay, this is just for understanding. This is talking about the student's achievement, right? And self-esteem. So achievement, the line should go up, right? If you look at this is the achievement, right? So we can say this is the highest point of the achievement. Okay. And this point is the lowest one, and this point is the lower one. Not even lowest, right? If it is the lowest here, then it must touch with this, right? So this is not lowest. So it means self-esteem. If you are going to increase the self-esteem, what's going to happen? Achievement is going to increase or decrease, right? Now look at, when you are increasing the self-esteem here, the performance is increasing, right? here, increase, increase, increase. Now here, this is the direct line, right? So we can say here, so when the, self-esteem is in the middle position, the performance is highest, right? Or higher. Now, if it's going to increase again. If it is increasing, self-esteem is increasing, increasing, increase. Now, what you can see here, the performance is declining, right? Declining. So what statement we can generate that when the self-esteem is in the certain point or in a limit, the performance is high, right? When self-esteem is low and high, performance is declining. This is a statement we have generated right now. Now let's see the options, right? A higher level of self-esteem can start to negatively, right? That means when you are increasing the self-esteem, it will impact negatively. Negatively impact means what? Decline of the person performance, right? So this sounds to be correct, right? But let's see what about the rest of, the level of the self-esteem among students with a high level of achievement does not affect their level. We proved that when self-esteem is increasing, it's impacting onto the or affecting onto the performance or achievement. So this is completely wrong. This is the highest level of the self-esteem is found among the students' lowest level of the achievement, right? Now, as I said, this point was it as this is not the highest point. This is the higher point, right? This will be the highest self-esteem here. Okay, so one of the thing is that highest level, it's not highest level, it's a higher level, right? Of the self-esteem. So again, the performance will be, okay, here. This is, so performance not the lowest level. It's not touching the line, okay, at the maximum, or highest point of this one. So this is also the wrong. Then let me erase so you can understand better. Then you can see what the fourth option says. The more self-esteem increases, okay, this one increases, the more student achievement improves. Student performance is declining, not improving. So option A is the correct one. Now, looking at the another question, you can see here that this shows that the graph below illustrates the relationship between student stress level. Same thing, only that the what we call the scenario has been changed to okay, self-esteem, and here is the stress. So we can say word opposite just like that. Doing the test, okay? Again, it's a performance, here is achievement, same thing, right? Now, it means what if the stress or anxiety is going to increase, right? So sometimes we say, okay, and when the stress and anxiety is going to increase, so definitely performance will be low. But we cannot answer like this, right? We have to look at the option. This is the logical thing, okay? That what will happen. But we have to read or interpret this graph and then match. So if you look at, these points are the, lower points, right? These are the lower points, right? They are not touching with the line, right? And this point you can consider as an highest, mid, or average, right? Average. Now this says that the student's performance improve as the level of the stress increase. You can see here level is increasing. When you can give it imagine numbers like that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As the numbers are increasing, that means stress level is increasing. So definitely the performance is declining. Again, The students perform better when the stress is within the normal limit. So this is a normal limit. If you number it from 1 to 10 here, so this will be the middle, okay? That will be 5. So performance, as you can see at that stage, is high or higher. So this option is correct. The student's performance decreases as the level of the stress increases. Now, as you can see here, the student's performance decreases. You can see here as the level of the student's performance decreases, this part, okay? You can see here. Student's performance decreases as the level of the. Now you can see here as the level of the stress, you can see here increase, 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 increase. At the same time, it's increasing, right? So this option you can see here, it's increasing, right? Now, this can be a distractor, right? Increasing or the level which has been designing higher or something like that. Right? Then it says that the student's performance best when stress level is the lowest. As I said, the lowest level is always touching to the line, right? This will be lower level, not the lowest level. So option B is the correct. The students perform better when stress is within the limit. Okay. I hope these two questions it's very clear to you. If you have anything you want to ask or discuss, please feel free or drop the comments.